to the Potting Shed, the weekly series brought to you by Reading Fringe Digital in partnership with BCA. I'm Chris Lambert, horticulturalist and lecturer here at BCA. Now this is the final week of the Potting Shed before the Reading Fringe Digital Festival begins next Friday the 17th of July. This week we'll be talking about growing jasmine, pruning wisteria and all about beans.
Laura from Norwich really wants to grow some jasmine in her garden, but feels a little uncertain about what it needs to survive and thrive. There are a number of different forms of jasmine and related plants, so first of all you need to decide which one you want. Two of the best options are either the common jasmine, Jasminum officinale, or the star jasmine, Trachelospermum jasminoides. Now both of these types produce a heady scent from their pure white star-shaped flowers, but whereas the common jasmine is deciduous, the star jasmine is evergreen with lovely glossy dark green leaves. Both are best positioned in an area near to where you walk so as to brush past when they come into flower and be spritzed with its heavenly scent. Jasmines prefer a site that offers a mix of sun and shade during the day. They are reasonably tolerant of most soil types, but if placed by a wall, do make sure that it doesn't dry out the roots too much. Remember to add in plenty of organic matter when planting. The common jasmine is happier in a moister soil, whereas the star jasmine prefers a more free draining soil. You can plant both in pots, but as they do get big, they're often best off in the soil. Both climbers, when they get going, can get unruly if left to their own devices, so be sure to set up a trellis or wire system that you can tie them into at the start. They can be fast growing and will produce plenty of growth through the season, so best keep on top of pruning with a tidy up after flowering. They do flower on the previous year's growth, so be careful to not cut back too hard, otherwise they'll be unable to perform for the following year. Remember, it's best to plant in spring or autumn, but if your green fingers are itching to get going, then just make sure you give it plenty of water as it establishes.
Now for some more pruning tips. Tim from Woodley has asked how to keep his wisteria in check. Now wisteria, like a lot of plants, befuddle many gardeners as to how and when they should be pruned. If you follow the advice to prune regularly, gently and only after flowering, then you won't go too far wrong. Wisteria is best cut twice a year, now in July and August, and then again in January and February. This pruning will keep the plant under control and will improve the resplendent flower display you'll get in May. At this time of year, you want to cut back all its leafy vegetative growth to about 5 leaves from the main stem. This makes the plant put more effort into forming flower buds and also helps stop this rampaging triffid from embracing everything around it in its questing tendrils. In winter, when the stems are clear of leaves and you can see what you're doing, you want to prune back to what are called flowering spurs. These will be found closer to the main stems and should be reduced to about 3 to 4 healthy buds. If your wisteria has gone bonkers, you may have to go in hard and sacrifice some of its flowers in the following year, but it will soon bounce back to its former size and glory.
Pete from London has asked an interesting question about what makes a bean and a pea a pea. Peas and beans both come under the heading of legumes and both are pulses, and there are over 400 different types of edible pea and beans in cultivation today. The term bean was originally used to describe just broad beans, but has now encompassed French, runner and many more. Some completely unrelated plants also produce what we term as beans, purely because they look like beans, such as coffee and cocoa. When we look at many botanical terms, we see that our kitchens are awash with confusion. Beans, peas and tomatoes are botanically fruit, but are often classified as vegetables. When we eat the parts of the plant that would usually be for reproduction, we are eating its fruit. And when we eat parts of the root, stem or leaves of a plant, this is generally classed as a vegetable. In conclusion, Pete, peas are called peas, beans called beans, only because we decided to call them this. If it's round and ball shaped, we generally call it a pea, and if it's oval or kidney shaped, we call it a bean. Hope that's cleared things up for you.
That's it for this series. Thanks ever so much for everyone who's written in. As I said, the Reading Fringe Digital Festival opens on Friday, July the 17th. So do check out the fabulous festival lineup and register for access to all the events at www readingfringefestival.co.uk. Thanks, and I hope to see you here again at some point in the future.